Hello, this is Gradye Parsons, and this is our continuing series on the new form of government, looking at the foundations of polity, which are the newer front section of the Book of Order, adopted by the Church in July of 2011. Today we're continuing to look at F10404, the last two sections of it. A new openness to see both the possibilities and perils of its institutional forms in order to ensure the faithfulness and usefulness of these forms to God's activity in the world. And a new openness to God's continuing reformation of the church ecumenical that might be more effective in its mission. Now we find this is almost a direct quote from the Confession of 67, section 940, where it talks about, again, the same kind of thing. Every church order must be open to such reformation as may be required to make it a more effective instrument of the mission of reconciliation. That these structures we have are not ends in themselves, but mission is our ultimate end. There's all kinds of structural, institutional challenges and changes before the Presbyterian Church at this time. Many of those you'll see in the Mid-Council Commission report to the 220th General Assembly. And I encourage you to look at that and to read the narrative, the long narrative of different models of the way presbyteries are reshaping themselves and reorganizing themselves to meet where we are today. In fact, this whole form of government that we've been talking about through these YouTubes is itself an answer to this need to always be reshaping ourselves to meet the mission that we're called to do at this time and place. So in this new form of government, with its various places where things that used to be spelled out in great detail are now where there's flexibility to allow a presbytery or a church to have more flexibility how it organizes itself. These are all responses to being open to the Spirit as we have our institutional change, as we meet the changing world that we're in. The same thing is going on in ecumenical agencies all around the world as they too adjust to the new dynamics of the fact that most Christians are south of the equator, that funding patterns are changing, and that the way people connect is changing. The way people call themselves together as a covenant community is changing. Now this is not a new thing. If you read church history at all, you'll see that the church from the very beginning was an evolving body, an evolving structure. There were centuries before there was really any formal structure in the church. It really didn't become real formalized until we hitched up with Rome around 400. So the church has always been involved in it, and part of the challenge there is that we tend to, some ways, think those things are eternal, those truths that are eternal, and then the structure of that is not eternal, and sometimes we get those things confused. Sometimes we think the way we do something is the way we have to keep doing it forever and ever, and that's not the way it is. I mean, we can change. We can be open to new things. The ordination exams used to be lots and lots of paper. They would now all be an online process. Many of the things we do now that we used to do in old ways are now being done in new ways. And this is good for the church. It's good for the church to constantly be challenged and to challenge itself. Are we being faithful in how we go about what we're doing? Not just what we're doing, but how we go about what we're doing. Are we being faithful to the resources God has given us, the technology that's available to us? The technological edginess 500 years ago were maps. Maps were considered the cutting edge technology, and people who'd gone out and explored places and brought back new information were as revered as our innovators are today, because they were helping to expand people's understandings of what we could do and expand where we could extend the mission of God. So today we too are being challenged in our institutional life. How are we structured? How are we organized? What does our body look like in our congregations, in our presbyteries, in our synods at the General Assembly level? How are we to be organized? How are we to be structured to meet today's world? So the question I want you to think about in your particular setting, in your particular church, is how you're organized. Is that working for you? Or how you're structured? Are your committee structured? Are people going through the motions of going to meetings and making decisions? Committees losing their stream and their focus? How is that working for you? This is a very Presbyterian kind of challenge, but it's part of who we are. It's this organized mindset that we bring to our church. So the challenge is go back and look at that stuff. And are you really open to doing it in a new way? Is it open to people who may have new ideas? Is it open to people who may have different perspectives? Is it open to people who may be on the margins of where you see that your community life? Are they open to all those things so that the Spirit can come in and bring a fresh wind to what we are about as we seek to be God's people. Think about that very carefully. Look at your world. Look at what you're a part of. And see, are you really open to God's renewing Spirit in your life and in the way you've organized your life as a church? And we'll talk again. Thanks.